Welcome to an age undreamed of, and another exciting episode of Starships and Steel. Today we're going to talk about Conan. This should not come as a surprise to you if you've been around this channel at all. You know I'm a giant fan of Conan and all things Robert E. Howard. You've probably also noticed over the years I've created a lot of content for 2D20, both on this channel and on my blog, starshipsandsteels.com. And I'll have that in the information below if you're interested in checking that out. If you're new here, well, this is kind of the content that I've created over the last 4 or 5 years. So I've been playing Conan 2D20 with my local group since it was a rough draft from the Kickstarter. We've had a lot of fun with it. I've run it at a few conventions here and there, specifically the RPG Alliance convention in Calgary. That is the first convention I ever ran a game at, and I ran this 2D20 system at it. But I always wondered what Conan would look like in a rules light system, like a really basic Year Zero engine or another rules set that's similar to that, like a Mork Borg or an ICRPG or something like that. And I've always wondered what that would be like. So enter Conan the Hyborian Age by Monolith. This game is a rules light system. It's designed to be easy to pick up and bring those ages of high adventure to your tabletop quickly and easily. It plays fast and it isn't bogged down by a lot of crunch. So that won't be good for everybody on the planet, but I really like it. So I thought it would be really beneficial today if we sat down, went through a quick combat scenario about how this game works so you can see it. And I urge you all to jump in and grab this free quick start on DriveThruRPG or Monolith's website and give it a shot for yourself. So with that, grab your sword, grab your drink, settle on in, and let's see how the system runs. Alright, before we get too carried away here, I just wanted to quickly go over the character sheet for Conan the Hyborian Age. As you can see on your screen right now, it's a pretty simple sheet. At the top, we have a place for your name and your origin. Down below at the very bottom, we have a place for any benefits that you might get from your origin. So for example, Gudrun gets +1 to all melee damage because her origin is from the north. Directly below name is our attributes. They are made up of two things. They're made up of a stat and a stat die. Together these are rolled to do most checks and attacks in the game. So this would be d6 + 5 for melee attacks or might checks. On the far right hand side we have the flex die. This is rolled with most rolls unless it's specified to not roll it. We're only looking for its maximum value. So in this case a 10. If we roll a 10 we can do various things. In the quick start it says you can make a failure into a success. It says you can do a massive damage attack if you roll it with your damage, or you can gain a point of stamina. And right next to it, of course, we have our stamina points. Stamina points can also be spent to do various things like get an extra move action or perhaps do extra damage. Below that we have our defense scores, one for physical and one for sorcery. These are the values that your opponents will need to meet or beat in order to physically attack you or use sorcery against you successfully. Back on the left-hand side of the page, we have our weapons. Weapons have 5 places you can put information. They have the weapon name, the type, whether it's melee or ranged, the range of the weapon, the damage, and any special rules it might have. Directly below that, we have armor. Similar to weapons, we have a place for its name, its armor rating, which works like soak, and any special rules that apply to that armor. Down the kind of right-hand side, we have skills, but don't think of these as skills like perception or insight. These are more like perks, the things that make your character unique, give them special abilities. And these are how your character progresses throughout their adventuring career. Back on the left, we got our life points. These are just like hit points. When they get to 0, you very likely may die. And at the very bottom, we have our equipment. And you can see there's not very much space for it. This game is not really equipment driven. It is not a shopping game. So we'll have basic things the DM can tell you. Might give you +1 or +2 to what you're doing. And beyond that, we don't really care about it. So, and with that, welcome to the Hyborian Age. In an ancient ruin lost in a desert somewhere between Shem and Stygia. Here we have Gudrun from the quick start, facing off against a giant scorpion and its broodmother. Taking a quick look at the scorpion stat block, we can see that it has the same 4 attributes across the top that a player character has, Below that, we can see the defense values for sorcery and physical defense. These are presented as a range to allow you to tweak the strength of the creatures more easily. Today, for this encounter, we are going to use their lowest values. As these are minions, we are shown a threshold value. Meet or exceed this much damage in a single attack, and the minion is crushed. Score lower, and it is only injured, but it will be killed after another attack causes damage. Below that, we see the basic weapon stats for the creature. Then the sheet is rounded out with any special rules, such as number of actions and poison in this case. The Broodmother's sheet looks pretty much the same as the Scorpion sheet, but note it is an antagonist, and as such it has life points versus that threshold value we saw on minions. These work just like they do on characters. Alright, so let's talk about movement real quick. When we talk about movement, you'll note there's no grid on this map. The Conan the Hyborian Age uses a zone system, but it's not like what we have seen in the 2D20 system. This zone system is a set of range bands that emanate from the model or token. So the first band we want to talk about is called Touch. So Touch is pretty self-explanatory. We have a model. If they are in base-to-base contact with another model, they are said to be in the range of touch. This is the typical range for melee attacks. The next range band is Close. So close range is described in the rules as being beyond arm's reach, but you're able to move to it in a few strides. There are a few melee weapons that can attack from this range. As we looked at that Broodmother's range band on its weapons, its melee attacks are actually close range, not touch. We'll also note that this is roughly one movement action wide. So the next range band after Close is called Medium. Medium range is described as the far side of a large room, and it is typically the range for thrown weapons. It is 2 move actions wide. So the next 2 range bands are really beyond the scope of this encounter, but we'll go over them real quick for completeness. Long range is a distance that can be seen to. Can't throw things that far, but you can use it for bows. So that's typical range for bows. It is 4 move actions wide. And the final range is distant. This is the very edge of a large battlefield. Only a very few ranged weapons will reach this far. It is generally considered to be 8 or more move actions wide. So while movement and range are meant to be pretty loose, if your table is very tactical, you can make up a range ruler and just measure those distances, and that would make it a lot more like what we see in war games. Okay, to start this encounter, we will roll initiative. That's a pretty common feature in most role-playing games. In Conan the Hyborian Age, this is simply an edge check. So for Gudrun, she'll roll her edge, and Gudrun's edge is a d6 plus 4. So you get a d6, and it's plus 4. And remember, she is a player character, so we need to roll that flex die at the same time. Roll that d6 for her, so she gets a 1 plus 4 is a 5 total initiative. So let's add her to the tracker. Now, for creatures, generally what we do is we look at all the creatures and we compare their edges and we take the lowest edge. So for the Broodmother, we can see that their edge is a d8 plus 5, and the Scorpion is a d8 plus 3. So for the Scorpions, we will roll d8 plus 3. d8s, they are not player characters, so they do not get to roll a flex die. So d8 plus 3 is 7, so they will go first. If you want to have a more interesting initiative order, you can always roll initiative by type of creature. So we'd roll once for the Broodmother, once for the Giant Scorpion. But that is an alternative rule, not the actual basic rule in the game, which is what we're going to use for this encounter. So now we're all set to go. We understand movement. We've looked at character sheets. We have some monsters on the board. We have Gudrun ready to face off against them. It is the first turn. Gudrun goes second. So our Giant Scorpion, as we saw, we click on their character sheet again. Giant Scorpions get 2 actions, 1 may be an attack. So Giant Scorpion will move to close range. As we saw, close range is about this big. So the Giant Scorpion will move to here, and then to here about. Broodmothers get 3 moves. You can see that on our character sheet. Broodmother has 3 actions, only 2 may be attacks, only 1 attack may come from its barbed stinger. We'll move to close, move to medium, and the Broodmother is going to move into base-to-base contact with Gudrun, even though he can't attack this round. Initiative goes from highest to lowest. I forgot to mention that. Alright, so it's Gudrun's attack here. Gudrun will slash at the
Broodmother with her hatchets. So Gudrun makes a might check to do this. So Gudrun's might is a d6 plus our flex die. Roll those two. So we get a 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. Broodmother's defense is 8, so her first attack will miss. Skitters off the Broodmother's chitin. So that being said, she will attack again, because she gets 2 actions in a turn. Roll that. That's better, a 6. 6 plus the 5 is 11. That beats the defense of the Broodmother. So now she can roll damage. Damage for a hatchet is 1d6. However, she has a plus 5 on her might, so she's going to get that added to it. So it's going to be 1d6 plus 5. Her origin bonus also gives her plus 1 to melee damage. So it's going to be 1d6 plus 6. Roll that flex die again. So we get here. 5 plus 6 is 11 points of damage. Broodmother has armor though. Minions don't, but antagonists do. So she has an armor rating of 4. So 11 minus 4 is 7 points of damage to the Broodmother. Okay, so Gudrun hits her, does 7 points of damage, and that is the end of Gudrun's turn. Scorpion's turns again. We will start with the Giant Scorpion again. Giant Scorpion will use both of its movements to close with Gudrun, but can't attack. The Broodmother, however, will use 2 of her movements or 2 of her actions rather, to attack Gudrun. She will start with her pincer. So Broodmother is d10 plus 6. So that's a 13. Gudrun's defense, 7. So that will easily hit. And the pincer does a fair bit of damage. Down here, 1d12 plus 6. Let's grab our 1d12. Roll that. So 11. 17 points of damage. Wow, that's a big hit. Take a look at Gudrun's character sheet here. We will see that she has an armor rating of 3. So that gives her 3 points of soak. So Gudrun will take 14 points of damage from that crushing blow. And now the Broodmother will attack with her pincer. And again, this is a d10 plus 6. 7 plus 6 is 13. Again, that is enough to hit. Scorpion Broodmother's pincer does 1d6 plus 6 damage. Roll that. Another 8 points of damage. Minus that armor of 3 is 5 points of damage total. That's an important number to remember. So we're at 19 points of damage now for Gudrun. She took 5 points of damage. And why is that 5 points of damage relevant? If we look at the Broodmother's character sheet again, we will see that if a giant scorpion Broodmother inflicts 2 or more damage with a single melee attack from its barbed stinger, which it just did, its target must pass a grit check, difficulty equal to the amount of life points lost from the barbed stinger attack. So that means Gudrun needs to make a grit check, difficulty 5. So Gudrun has a grit of d6 plus 4. Alright, so we need a d6. Roll the flex die because she's a player character. d6 plus 4. So 10. So she easily resists the poison and only has to worry about the damage. And that is the end of the Scorpion's turn. Gudrun will now attack the Broodmother. So she will roll her might, which is a d6 plus 5. She's going to grab the flex die and a d6. Roll those 2. So she gets a 3 plus 5 is 8. And the Broodmother's defense, I believe, was 8. It is. So that will be a hit. So she will roll her d6 with her flex die, and she will add 6 points of damage onto this roll. So another 11 points of damage. That's another 7 to the Broodmother, taking her to 14. And now Gudrun will attack again. So Gudrun takes the d6 and the flex die and rolls them and adds 5 to the total. 10. That's enough, another hit. This time Gudrun is going to spend some stamina on damage. So we call up our little stamina sheet here real quick. We can see that you can increase the damage of a successful attack by 1d4 after the roll, or pay 2 stamina points to increase the damage by 2d4. So Gudrun has 4 points of stamina. She's going to spend 2 of them here and roll an extra 2d4 points of damage. So she's going to grab her d6 for her base damage. She's going to grab her flex die. She's going to grab 2d4. And we're going to roll those bad boys all together here. Almost got a flex, but not quite. So not the greatest roll ever. 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus 6 is 12 points of damage. Broodmother's armor rating is 4, which will give her another 8 points of damage to the Broodmother. Broodmother's at 14, taking her to 22 points of damage. That is, however, the end of Gudrun's turn. So now we're back to the Scorpions. This time the Giant Scorpion can attack. Giant scorpions have a might of D8 plus 2. Let's get rid of this. Move all these dice to the side here. D8 plus 2. I'm going to roll that. A 3 is a 5. And Gudrun's defense was 7, I believe. Is that correct? Gudrun's defense is indeed a 7. So the scorpion will miss. Its claws just snap at air. So now the broodmother will attack. The broodmother is slightly better at combat, so the broodmother will again roll a d10 and add 6 to it. Oh, 16. Yeah, that's definitely a hit. So the claws are a d12 plus 6. Roll that. So 7 plus 6 is 13 points of damage, minus her armor of 3. Will be another 10 points of damage to Gudrun, taking her to 29. All right, and then we will hit her, or try and hit her, from the broodmother using her stinger. Grab that d10. D10 plus 6 for the attack. So a 9 is another hit. So we'll roll damage for that barb stinger, which is a 1d6 plus 6. Roll that.
So 10 points of damage. Minus 3 is 7.
So Gudrun will take 7 points of damage, which will take her to 36. And then she will make her grit check, which is a d6 plus 4. 4, 5, 6, 7. That is enough to pass. She again resists the poison. And that is the end of the broodmother. So Gudrun will attack again with her hatchet. Do this. 9 is again not a flex, but we get 5, 6, 7, 8 is a hit. So she will roll a d6, a flex die, and 1 point of stamina for damage. And she rolls 5 plus 6, 11, 12 points of damage again. Minus the 4 is 8 points of damage to the broodmother, making her to 30. Broodmother is almost dead. All right, I mean, so is Gudrun, but we're doing pretty good. Gudrun will use her second attack to attack that broodmother. D6 and the flex die. Let's call our stamina up here. We don't want to miss this attack. Increase a check or attack by +1 after the roll, or pay 2 stamina points to increase it by +2. All right, well, we might use that. We can check it after the roll. So let's see what we get. See if it's relevant even. Oh, easy. Oh, and a flex. Sweet. Well, that's awesome. So she hits. She gets a flex. So what does a flex do? What does that actually do for us? Let's see what we can do. We can get a point of stamina. We can get success. When characters fail, you can use that to succeed. We did not. Or we can do massive damage. So when a character rolls a flex as part of damage roll, which we have not done, sadly, we've only actually managed to do it on the attack roll. So we will take an extra point of stamina, bringing us back up to 2 points of stamina. That's all right. Okay, well, let's get rid of the flex here. We know what we use it for. I'm going to grab her d6. Put a flex die in here. Roll this. See what we get. 6 plus 6 is 12 points of damage. So her hatchet cuts into the chitin of this broodmother, spilling its brains all over the place, eliminating it from the combat. And now it is simply the giant scorpion versus Gudrun. So the giant scorpion will attack. The giant scorpion tries to hit her with its claws. It does the most damage, and I think that's the most relevant thing for it to do. So the giant scorpions are again d8 plus 2. So we'll grab our d8 here. 4 plus 2 is 6. That misses Gudrun barely. The claws reach out and miss her. Gudrun is alive. And now Gudrun has 2 attacks to end the giant scorpion's life. Take her d6, take her flex die, roll those 2. 6 plus 3 is 9. The giant scorpion's physical defense is a 5. So that's an easy hit. Take our d6 and we'll take our flex die. We're going to roll this for damage. So we're going to get 8 points of damage. Threshold on a giant scorpion is 7. So with a single blow, she cuts the giant scorpion in half.
And with that, Gudrun is free to continue her adventure. If you found today's video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. You can check me out on these other platforms: Instagram, my blog, www.starshipsandsteel.com. Thanks for tuning in today, and don't forget to keep it weird.